Leo Rivera walked slowly into the crowded school hallway, his worn backpack straps pressing into his shoulders, and his mind racing with thoughts of yesterday's cruel laughter as his footsteps echoed on the cold tiled floor so faint. He felt his heart pound loudly as he passed a row of lockers painted bright blue and green, each lock reflecting a flicker of the harsh fluorescent lights overhead. His mind raced with endless hope-wonder. A sudden chill crept down his spine when he heard the giggles of two taller boys leaning against the cement wall near the cafeteria doors. They pointed at his tattered shoes and shouted mocking words that bounced off the stone floors and echoed back to him like thunder. Leo forced himself to keep his eyes forward and held his breath as he tried to block out their sneers and the clutches of fear in his chest. He thought he would be just another victim, an easy target lost in the complex currents of school gossip and teenage cruelty. Each day seemed to stretch on for hours as he counted down the seconds until he could return to the safe quiet of his small bedroom. He longed to belong to a group that would accept him, but he did not know where to find the courage to reach out to anyone. His shoulders sagged under the weight of his heavy textbooks, and the weight of his own worries that seemed to grow taller with each passing moment. He remembered the cold breeze that had slipped in under the door of his front porch the night before, reminding him that he was alone in his fears. He paused at the entrance of the math wing and ran a hand through his dark hair, trying to steady his breathing as he stepped inside. The hallway smelled of chalk dust and cleaning spray, and the walls were lined with faded posters celebrating achievements he could only dream about. Leo's reflection in the small glass window of the classroom door flickered for a moment before he turned the knob slowly with trembling fingers. The room was warm and filled with the soft hum of voices as students gathered their notebooks and settled into desks arranged in neat rows. He walked past the circle of friends clustered at the front, their cheerful chatter making him feel even more separate from their easy comfort. He slid to the last seat by the back window, where the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the scratched desktop in front of him. He set his backpack on the floor and opened his notebook, the pages still blank and waiting for his pen to come alive with ideas. He tapped his pencil against the desk and watched the line of dust gather in the corner, thinking about the promise he made himself before leaving home. He had promised to stand tall and speak up if anyone crossed his path, even though the fear in his stomach had threatened to tie his tongue in knots. He was not sure if he could keep that promise when the final bell rang and the hallways swarmed again with moving bodies and harsh words. The teacher began the lesson and a hush settled over the room, but Leo's thoughts drifted to the challenge that waited just outside this door. He watched as a few classmates scribbled notes quickly and others fidgeted in their seats, all unaware of the storm brewing in his mind. He remembered the time he had quietly excelled in his reading assignment and earned a small nod of approval from his kind librarian, Ms. Darrow. That memory shined in his mind like a beacon, reminding him that he was more than the jokes whispered behind his back. He saw the chart on the wall showing names and scores in bright colors, and he imagined adding his own name high among the best performers. A warm glow spread through his chest as he realized that he had skills and talents hidden below his shy exterior. He closed his eyes for a moment to savor that gentle feeling, then opened them and spotted the sneering faces of the two bullies at the door. They leaned close and seemed to watch him with amusement, unaware that something had shifted inside Leo's heart in that instant. His breathing slowed as he recognized the steady rhythm of his own confidence starting to build like quiet thunder. He touched the small stone in his pocket, a gift from his grandfather, and felt its smooth surface rest beneath his palm. The stone reminded him of old stories about bravery and family honor he had heard around the fireplace on cold winter nights. He realized that he carried something stronger than fear inside him, a power that came from belief in himself and his dreams. The low hum of the projector in the corner faded into the background as the world around him grew calm and clear. He lifted his chin and straightened his back, feeling a new energy flow through his limbs like warm sunlight. When the teacher called on him to answer a question, he raised his hand without thinking and spoke in a clear, steady voice. The room grew silent as every eye turned toward him, and he waited with a steady heartbeat for the next moment. He answered the question correctly and saw a few classmates nod in surprise at his quiet confidence and knowledge. The bullies' smirks faltered for a moment, and Leo sensed their attention shift from mocking to curious respect. For the first time that day, he felt a spark of true strength that he knew would not fade away. He thought he would be just another victim until he showed who he really was, and he understood that this moment could change everything. The final bell rang loudly across the room, its clear chime cutting through the quiet as students began to gather their books, pencils, and notebooks in a flurry of movement while Leo closed his notebook slowly, still savoring the memory of Ms. Darrow's approving smile after his confident answer. He eased himself out of his seat without knocking over the careful stack of textbooks on the desk in front of him, mindful of the neat rows of journals and pens that his classmates had arranged so neatly before class. The warm light from the windows spilled into the classroom as Leo stood by his desk, hesitating for a moment to feel the gentle afternoon breeze drifting in through the open window above his head. A soft murmur of excitement rippled around him as students zipped their backpacks and slung them over their shoulders. But Leo felt only a calm pride that replaced the nervous flutter he used to have at dismissal time. He stepped into the hallway with measured confidence, lifting his chin and straightening his shoulders so that he looked ahead instead of down at the scuffed floor tiles. The corridor was filled with sunlight and echoes of chatter as friends reunited for sports practice and groups made plans for lunch, and Leo felt surprisingly comfortable in the midst of the noise. He noticed the lockers all lined up like silent sentinels along the walls, their cool metal doors marked with stickers and faded graffiti that told stories of past students long gone. Leo walked past a group of girls who laughed together while comparing notes on their art project, and he smiled to himself at the idea that people could share excitement as easily as they shared ridicule. A few steps further, he spotted the two boys who had tormented him earlier leaning against the lockers, arms crossed and expressions guarded as they waited for him to pass. He took a deep breath and felt the steady rhythm of his heart beat in his chest, remembering the smooth stone his grandfather had given him that rested safely in his pocket. As he approached, his steps were calm and unhurried, and he reminded himself that he carried more than fear inside him. It was the quiet confidence he had discovered in the classroom. The taller boy pushed off the lockers and straightened his jacket, as if preparing to resume the game of mockery that they had played so often in the past. Leo stopped just a few feet away, lifting his eyes to meet the bully's stare without wavering, and he felt a wave of clarity wash over his thoughts. A small crowd gathered around them, drawn by curiosity and the promise of witnessing something unexpected in the usually routine hallway. Leo spoke in a calm voice, one that carried steady strength, when he said, "If you want to talk, I'm here. But I'll never stand by while you treat me like I don't matter." The bully's friend narrowed his eyes and let go of the strap of a passing student's backpack that he had been tugging, as if trying to test Leo's reaction. Leo drew a gentle breath and smiled honestly, the kind of smile his mother used to give him when she encouraged him to believe in himself. The taller boy took an uncertain step closer, and Leo felt his confidence swell as he realized that he no longer felt threatened by the looming figure. A teacher rounding the corner froze in surprise, ready to step in if Leo needed help but hesitant when he saw the determined calm on Leo's face. The two boys exchanged a quick glance, and for the first time their smirks wavered, replaced by a flicker of confusion as they eyed Leo's steady stance. Leo reached into his pocket and pressed his fingers against the smooth surface of the stone, recalling his grandfather's words about bravery and standing tall like an oak. He stood as still as a statue, letting his composed silence speak louder than any threat he could hiss in their ears. The hallway grew quiet except for the distant hum of laughter and the shuffling beat of footsteps moving in different directions. One of the boys opened his mouth to say something mocking, but closed it again when no sign of fear or anger appeared in Leo's calm expression. Another student stepped forward, offering a quiet nod of support to Leo, and the space around them seemed to swell with unexpected solidarity. The bully cleared his throat and at last forced a half-hearted laugh, but it sounded hollow even to his own ears as he tried to regain control of the moment. Leo tilted his head and asked softly, "Is that all you came here to do, or do you have something real to say?" The taller boy blinked rapidly, unsure whether to attack with mean words or back down with an apology that felt too sincere. Nearby lockers rattled as someone passed by, and Leo felt a calm pulse of power that came from being true to himself instead of pretending to be small. Cruelty drained from the bully's eyes as Leo's quiet courage defied the rules of their usual game, replacing it with a thin sheen of respect. At that moment, the teacher intervened with a firm voice and placed a gentle hand on the taller boy's arm, guiding both of them down the hallway toward the principal's office. Leo followed without a word, his mind clear and his heart steady as he walked beside the teacher and his former tormentors. A few classmates whispered encouragement as he passed, saying things like "way to stand up to them," and "you were so brave," which made him feel warm inside. Leo realized that he had not only defended himself but also shown others a path away from fear, using calm words and steady eyes instead of fists or screams. As he approached the office door, he glanced back at the crowded corridor and saw students turning to each other with wide smiles, as if sharing a new secret of courage. He thought about how different this day felt compared to those before, when he had walked the halls hunched and silent, longing to hide from the world. Now he walked with a quiet power that felt stronger than any words could describe, carrying with him the truth that he was not defined by other people's cruelty. He opened the door to the principal's office and stepped inside, his mind calm and his voice ready to tell the truth about what had happened in the hallway. The principal looked up from her desk and offered him a warm smile, acknowledging the strength it took to stand up and speak honestly. Leo realized that he thought he would be just another victim until he showed who he really was, and in that moment he knew he could handle anything that came next. Leo sat down in the chair across from the principal's desk, his knees pressed lightly against the smooth edge of the antique oak wood, and he felt a strange mix of nerves and calm settle in his chest. Miss Hawthorne leaned forward in her polished leather chair, the afternoon sun highlighting gentle lines on her face, and asked Leo to tell her exactly what had happened in the hallway. He closed his eyes for a moment to gather his thoughts, recalling the steady warmth of his grandfather's voice and the promise he had silently made to himself. Then he opened his eyes and began to speak clearly, describing how two taller boys had mocked his shoes and whispered cruel jokes. He explained that for a moment his heart had pounded so loud he feared everyone would hear it, but he forced himself to focus on calm breathing. He told how his grandfather's stone had rested in his pocket like a quiet guardian, giving him the strength to speak without shaking. Leo described the bullies' smirks and the way they leaned close, expecting him to shrink, but he stood his ground with steady eyes. He spoke of the hush that fell when the crowd of students stopped to watch, drawn by a sense that something different was happening. He admitted that inside he had felt a swirl of fear and hope, but he chose words of firm but respectful challenge instead of angry threats. He recalled how a kind teacher had rounded the corner just in time to see his calm stance, offering silent support with her steady gaze. He said he hoped his actions would discourage cruelty and show that kindness could stand strong against cruelty. The principal listened intently, making precise notes in her crisp folder as her pen scratched softly against paper. When he paused, she asked a few gentle questions to clarify what had been said and what had been done. Leo answered honestly, his voice gaining confidence as he detailed the respectful conversation he had offered his tormentors. She nodded and closed the folder, her eyes shining with admiration for his clear, thoughtful account. Ms. Hawthorne praised his bravery, explaining that honesty and calm courage mattered as much as any physical strength. She promised to meet with the other students and remind everyone of the school's rules about respect and empathy. When their meeting ended, Leo rose from his chair and felt a lightness in his shoulders as he left the office. He stepped back into the hallway, the bright light from the windows creating a soft glow that seemed to welcome him. Students at lockers turned and offered him small smiles and thumbs up as he passed by. He reached his locker and found a folded piece of paper taped to it, the edges carefully creased. His name was written in neat print on the outside, and inside the note read, "Thank you for standing up. You showed me I can be brave, too." Leo's chest warmed with a glow that felt like sunshine inside his body, and he read the note again, savoring the simple words. He opened his locker and arranged his books in tidy stacks, enjoying the new sense of order and confidence. As he snapped the locker door closed, he spotted Ms. Darrow walking toward him with two other teachers. They greeted him with friendly smiles and held up a brightly colored flyer inviting him to a student group called the Respect Circle. Leo paused, surprised by the invitation, then nodded and thanked them quietly, feeling honored to be included. Together they walked down the hall toward an empty classroom decorated with posters showing hands linked in unity and words like courage and kindness. When he entered, a circle of students greeted him with applause and cheers that made his cheeks glow. A student named Mia smiled broadly and waved him to an empty seat, her eyes shining with respect. Leo sat down beside her, feeling the gentle hum of supportive voices as classmates shared stories of standing up for others. A boy spoke about how he had intervened when he saw teasing on the playground, using calm words to end the taunts. A girl explained how she had helped a friend who felt left out by inviting her to join their lunch table. Leo felt proud to be part of this group, knowing that kindness and courage belonged together like twin seeds of hope. The teacher leading the circle explained that they would host an assembly where these stories would inspire every student. He felt his stomach flutter with excitement and a touch of nervousness at speaking in front of the whole school. On assembly day, the gym was filled with chairs arranged in neat rows and students buzzing quietly as they waited. Backstage, Leo held the small stone his grandfather had given him and felt its smooth surface steady his nerves. When he stepped to the podium, he heard the low hum of anticipation and saw faces turning expectantly toward him. He spoke clearly about fear and courage, how one calm voice could end cruelty, and as the applause rose, he knew he was no longer a silent victim but a true leader. After the assembly ended and the final notes of applause faded, Leo stepped off the wooden stage into the bright gymnasium lights, feeling his chest swell with pride and relief at the support he saw in every smiling face around him. Clutching the microphone stand with one hand and wiping sweat from his brow with the other, he walked through a sea of cheering students who reached out to shake his hand or offer a quick word of encouragement, each gesture filling him with warmth. The air in the gym smelled of polished wood and faint body odor mixed with the sweet scent of colorful banners hung from the rafters, while the afternoon sun streamed through high windows, casting long shadows on the freshly swept floor. A caring teacher handed Leo a cool bottle of water from a metal tray decorated with schedule flyers, and he uncapped it slowly to take small sips between waves of excitement and newfound confidence pulsing through his veins. Students clustered in groups around folding chairs began to press in, their voices rising in happy chatter as they congratulated Leo on his speech, each compliment like a small gift that fed his growing belief in himself. Mia appeared through the crowd, her dark hair catching the light, and she smiled as if she had known this moment would come, raising her hand high and shouting, "You were amazing, Leo," to which he responded with a shy but genuine grin. He moved to greet other classmates who had once been too shy to speak to him in the hallways, offering fist bumps to Jamal and high fives to new friends whose names he was still learning, each one sealing a bond he never expected. From the corner of his eye, he saw the two boys who had mocked him on Monday, leaning together near the exit, their arms crossed and heads bowed as if unsure whether to face the boy they had wronged or to slip away into the crowd. One of them pushed off the wall and took a tentative step forward, his gaze wavering between guilt and admiration, before he spoke in a low voice. "Leo, I'm sorry for what we said." Surprise warmed Leo from head to toe as he heard that simple apology, and he felt a rush of compassion for the boy who had once filled him with fear, prompting him to reply, "Thank you. That means a lot to me." The second boy shifted his weight and rubbed the back of his neck, then muttered, "I didn't realize how strong you were until today. Can we start over?" Leo nodded and offered them both genuine smiles, saying, "Sure. We all deserve a chance to be better." The gymnasium fell quiet for a heartbeat as everyone watched the moment, sensing that kindness could be more powerful than cruelty. A teacher stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on the taller boy's shoulder, guiding him to offer a proper apology, which he did with clear sincerity. Leo felt a steady calm inside, knowing this act might change not only his life but the lives of many others who witnessed it. A student reporter from the school newspaper hurried over and asked Leo for a quick interview, her recorder mic reflecting the gym lights like a tiny star. He spoke clearly into the recorder about fear and courage, explaining how one calm voice could make a ripple that turns into waves of change. The reporter smiled and patted his shoulder, promising to share his story in the next issue under the headline, "Quiet Courage Shakes the Halls." After the crowd thinned, Leo walked toward the back exit where cool air awaited, his footsteps light on the polished floor. Outside the gym doors, a fresh breeze kissed his cheek as he stepped into the courtyard filled with trees and benches, each leaf trembling in the wind. He noticed a small group of students gathered around the newly installed buddy bench, painted bright blue and shaded by an old oak tree. On the bench sat Sarah, the shy girl he had befriended, clutching a book and looking hopeful as she waited for someone to join her. Leo approached and sat beside her, saying softly, "Mind if I keep you company?" which made her face brighten like dawn breaking through clouds. They talked about their favorite stories and games, and he introduced her to Mia and Jamal, who joined them and helped Sarah feel included. As laughter echoed through the courtyard, Leo realized that small acts of kindness could grow into real friendships that warmed people's hearts. A teacher from the art club waved them over to admire student paintings displayed along the pathway, each canvas filled with bright colors and messages of hope. One painting showed a single stone on a dark background with the word "brave" written above, reminding Leo of the smooth talisman his grandfather gave him. He smiled and placed his hand on the bench beside him, remembering the warmth he felt that day in Ms. Hawthorne's office when her praise felt like sunshine. The school bell rang again, signaling the end of club activities and the start of the walk home, but Leo lingered under the oak tree to savor the moment. He ran his fingers over the stone in his pocket, grateful for the gift that taught him how to stand tall even when he felt small inside. At home that evening, Leo's grandfather met him at the door with open arms and a proud smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. They sat together on the porch as the sky turned pink and orange, and Leo recounted every detail of the day, from the assembly stage to the buddy bench. His grandfather listened intently and then placed his hand on Leo's shoulder, saying, "You showed everyone what courage can do, and I couldn't be prouder." Leo felt a gentle pride bloom in his chest, knowing he had honored his family and himself by finding his true strength. After dinner, Leo added his name to the Respect Circle roster, hanging on his bedroom wall, alongside notes from classmates thanking him for his leadership. He turned off his light and lay in bed, thinking about the next meeting and the stories he would share to inspire others. Before drifting to sleep, he whispered a quiet promise to the stone in his pocket that he would always stand up for kindness and truth, no matter where life led him. Outside his window, the moon rose full and bright, as if nodding in approval at the choices Leo had made that day. In his dreams, he saw a school where every student felt safe to speak their mind and show their true selves without fear. And he knew, deep inside, that he thought he would be just another victim until he showed who he really was, and that truth would guide his steps forever. The next morning, Leo woke before dawn, the sky outside his window painted in soft peach and lavender hues as he reached for the smooth talisman his grandfather had given him, drawing strength from its cool surface. He sat at the edge of his bed, breath steady, eyes closed, picturing the expansive auditorium filled with supportive faces and recalling the warmth of applause that still echoed in his mind. After a quick breakfast of toast and fruit, he gathered his notebooks, sliding his pen into the pocket of his backpack with a sense of purpose that settled in his chest like a gentle flame. On his walk to school, a crisp breeze carried the faint scent of blooming jasmine from nearby gardens, urging him onward toward another day of new possibilities and small acts of bravery. As Leo reached the school gates, he spotted Mia and Jamal waiting by the flagpole, their broad smiles and enthusiastic waves making the stone in his pocket pulse with energy. They walked together along the cracked sidewalk, sharing ideas for the upcoming Respect Circle meeting and exchanging quiet jokes that made his heart feel light. Entering the crowded courtyard, Leo noticed more students nodding and greeting him by name, gestures of friendly recognition that felt like numberless gifts welcoming him forward. He paused by the old oak tree, where the buddy bench sat painted a bright shade of blue, seeing Sarah reading beneath its branches and waving her over with hopeful eyes. In homeroom, the teacher surprised everyone by inviting students to share news, and Mia stood to speak passionately about how Leo's words had inspired her to defend quieter classmates. The room erupted in applause once more, and Leo felt a familiar warmth spread through his body, a glow of pride softened by the gentle comfort of collective support. When several classmates raised hands to ask how to join the Respect Circle, he explained patiently the simple process and the group's promise to promote empathy at every turn. During recess, Leo led a small group to the garden beds behind the school, guiding them in planting seeds of colorful flowers to brighten the campus for all. When one student grew frustrated by tangled weeds, he knelt beside her, offering clear instructions and words of encouragement to transform doubt into quiet determination. Laughter rang softly across the playground as the group worked together, each student's face glowing with the satisfaction of shared accomplishment. At midday, Leo glanced at his watch, realizing he had forgotten the usual pangs of anxiety, a thought so liberating that he smiled and breathed deeply. In the cafeteria, a line of students eagerly waited to join his table, holding lunches of every kind, from sandwiches to soup, and eager for the warmth of community. He shared stories of the morning's garden work with Mia and Sarah, their voices blending in happy conversation that filled the buzzing room. After lunch, he headed to the library where Ms. Darrow greeted him with a proud nod and asked for his help in organizing a display of respectful actions by students. Leo arranged posters decorated with bright markers and photographs depicting classmates standing up for one another, creating a vibrant tapestry of courage. A new student approached shyly, clutching a get-well card for his mother, and Leo invited him to join the display project with a welcoming grin. The boy's relief was palpable as he accepted the invitation, his nervous shoulders relaxing for the first time that day under Leo's calm presence. When the bell rang, Leo guided the newcomer to his next class, pointing out the art room's cheerful murals and the math wing's colorful charts. In science class, the teacher paired Leo with a quiet girl who spoke softly, and he listened intently as she described her fascination with star constellations. He asked thoughtful questions about the phases of the moon, and she brightened visibly with each nod of encouragement, her confidence budding like spring flowers. Curious classmates watched their easy collaboration, surprised by how smoothly they communicated without hesitation or fear of judgment. That afternoon, he prepared for the Respect Circle meeting, finding the room filled with new faces eager to share stories of kindness and solidarity. A cardboard sign above the chalkboard proclaimed, "Building a Kinder Tomorrow," and colorful drawings lined the walls alongside student promises. When Leo spoke to the circle, he described how a small stone and a single voice had transformed his school, inviting others to use simple words to spark change. His listeners nodded in respectful silence, absorbing each idea as if it were a precious seed ready to blossom into action. After the meeting, a teacher presented him with a certificate recognizing his leadership, its glossy finish and bold text reflecting the pride shining in his eyes. He accepted the award with modest gratitude, the vibrant ink feeling weighty in his hands and meaningful beyond measure. Walking home in the golden glow of late afternoon, Leo held both the certificate and the stone, reminders of moments that redefined his understanding of strength. At home, he placed the certificate on his desk beside the stone, creating a small corner of triumph to remind him of the day's lessons on empathy. His grandmother called him to supper and listened intently as he narrated the details of the new student he had welcomed and the flowers he had helped plant. Over steaming bowls of soup, they laughed together, his family's warmth wrapping him in love and support that felt like a soft blanket around his heart. Later that evening, he journaled by lamplight, noting ideas for future Respect Circle projects and pledging to spread kindness wherever he went. Before slipping into bed, he examined his reflection in the mirror, noticing how his shoulders sat back and his eyes held a steady, confident spark. He slipped the smooth stone into his pocket and whispered a promise to continue standing up against cruelty, using calm words as his strongest armor. That night, his dreams carried him to a school where every student's voice mattered and laughter rang freely without fear of judgment. He carried in his heart the truth that he thought he would be just another victim until he showed who he really was, and he vowed to live by that lesson forever. In the weeks that followed, the Respect Circle meetings became a highlight of Leo's school life, drawing students from every grade eager to share ideas about kindness and inclusion, and he felt proud each time he saw new faces step through the classroom door with hopeful smiles. Each Wednesday after class, he arrived early to set up chairs in the empty art room, arranging colorful markers and poster boards for brainstorming sessions while soft afternoon light filtered through the tall windows and dust motes danced in the quiet air. Mia and Jamal greeted newcomers at the door, handing out bright name tags decorated with drawings of hearts and stars and offering friendly introductions to break the ice for every shy student who entered. Leo opened each meeting by reading a short quote about courage, chosen carefully to inspire his classmates, and he watched their eyes light up as they considered the simple but powerful words. Sarah organized supplies on a folding table, laying out neat rows of paint tubes, brushes, and rags for the mural project they planned to create together, while her classmates admired the array of bright colors waiting to transform a blank wall. Leo explained that the mural would show scenes of respect, friendship, and standing up for one another, and he described how each symbol would remind students daily of the strength and kindness. A group of students volunteered to sketch ideas on large sheets of paper, their drawings reflecting personal hopes for a kinder school as they laughed and shared their memories of moments when someone helped them feel included. Leo listened to each suggestion and guided the group in combining their sketches into a single, vibrant design, making sure every student's creative vision had a place in the final image. They decided the mural would span the wall beside the cafeteria, so every student would see it at lunch, and they marked the exact dimensions in chalk on the brick surface to plan their work precisely. Over the next week, they applied a coat of primer to the wall and taped off sections with bright painter's tape, the surface feeling cool and smooth under their hands as they prepared it for color. A teacher supervised as Leo and his friends mixed paint shades of blue, orange, green, and purple for the background, their brushes dipping into the buckets with careful swirls that created new tones. On painting day, students worked in small teams, filling in large shapes with bold strokes and adding details like handprints, smiling faces, and tiny stars to bring the mural to life with energy. As the mural grew, more students stopped to watch and soon joined in, eager to make their own mark on the wall and excited by the sense of unity filling the air. Leo climbed a small ladder to paint the highest sections, careful to keep his strokes steady and even while feeling the slight wobble beneath his feet, and he paused to ensure every edge met cleanly. Mia handed him brushes and paint jars, cheering him on as he completed each section with care. Her laughter rang out like sunshine as she celebrated each new splash of color. Jamal used a roller to fill broad areas of color, his steady movements creating smooth, even coats that reflected the afternoon light and made the brick wall seem to glow. By midday, the mural covered more than half the wall, and the air buzzed with excitement and laughter as everyone admired the shape and color that had replaced the empty space. Sarah added the finishing touches, painting bold letters that read "Courage Builds Community" in bright white, her careful hand ensuring every curve and line looked perfect under the sun's warm rays. When they stepped back to admire their work, the mural glowed with color and energy against the brick wall, and Leo felt a deep happiness knowing it would greet every student at lunch. A teacher took photos to share the story in the school newsletter and on the website, capturing the youthful spirit and teamwork that had made the project possible. In art class the next day, the teacher displayed pictures of the mural and praised the students for their teamwork, holding up the images for the entire class to see and admire. Parents and siblings visited the cafeteria and smiled at the vibrant scenes, commenting on how bright and welcoming the space felt as they took in the colorful figures on the wall. Leo felt a quiet pride as other students pointed out their own handprints and the figures they had drawn, each mark telling a story of friendship and shared effort. The mural became a backdrop for lunch conversations and a reminder that kindness could transform ordinary spaces into places of warmth and welcome for all. Later that week, the principal invited Leo and a few Respect Circle members to speak at a community meeting in the auditorium, where they would share the story behind the mural. In the school auditorium, they explained how the mural project had strengthened friendships, reduced teasing, and created a more positive atmosphere for learning and play. Local newspaper reporters interviewed Leo, asking him what had motivated him to lead the project, and he spoke clearly about the importance of courage and community. He described speaking up for himself, and how that first moment of brave words had sparked a movement that now filled the school with hope and color. The article titled "Young Artist Leads Kindness Campaign" appeared on the front page of the community paper, complete with photos of the students painting and the finished mural. That evening, Leo's grandfather called to congratulate him and said the mural would stand for years as a symbol of courage and the power of a single voice. Leo felt a warm glow in his chest as he imagined students in the future learning about respect by looking at the wall and feeling connected to the stories behind the paint. Back at school, the Respect Circle turned their attention to planning a kindness week with games, posters, challenges, and daily reminders to practice empathy in every hallway. Leo worked with classmates to write daily themes like Compliment Day, Help a Friend Day, and Smile at Someone New Day on the school calendar displayed in the main hallway. Each morning, announcements invited students to participate and reminded them of the week's theme, their voices echoing through the speakers with messages of goodwill. During Kindness Week, students exchanged encouraging notes during class, helped carry books for classmates who needed support, and shared snacks with new friends. Teachers joined the effort by sharing stories of their own childhood challenges and how small acts of bravery had changed their lives forever. At the end of the week, the Respect Circle held a celebration with cupcakes, cards filled with messages of hope, and a banner that read "Together We Rise" stretched across the gym. Leo looked around at the smiling faces of his classmates and felt confident that the seeds of kindness they had planted would grow even taller in the days and years ahead. He realized that showing who he really was had sparked a movement that would outlast his time at the school and inspire others long after he graduated. And he knew deep in his heart that he thought he would be just another victim until he showed the world who he really was, using calm words and steady courage to change his story forever. As the new school year began, Leo felt a thrill of excitement when he saw the mural greeting every student next to the cafeteria doors, its bright colors reminding him daily of courage and community. Students pointed and whispered as they passed by, each noticing scenes of friendship and respect painted in bold strokes that spread warmth across the brick wall. Leo joined the morning announcements team and used his clear voice to share a daily message of kindness, encouraging classmates to practice gentle words and helpful actions. At the student council meeting, he suggested a weekly shout-out circle where students could publicly thank someone who had supported them, and the council voted unanimously to adopt his idea. Each Friday afternoon, the cafeteria filled with laughter as students took turns standing in the center circle to acknowledge friends, teachers, or even school staff for acts of kindness. Leo discovered that these moments of appreciation had a powerful ripple effect, inspiring others to reach out to people they had never spoken to before. During a busy month, he organized a book donation drive to benefit the local public library, setting up collection boxes in every classroom and library corner. Over 2 weeks, students and teachers contributed hundreds of books, from picture books to novels, filling the collection bins and making space for new stories. Leo enlisted the help of his classmates to sort and pack the donations, teaching them that giving to others could be as rewarding as receiving. When the delivery truck arrived to pick up the books, Leo helped lift boxes and arrange them carefully inside, proud that their school community had made such a big difference. A reporter from the local newspaper interviewed him outside the school doors, asking how they had inspired so many students to donate books. He explained that simple acts of caring and a shared sense of purpose helped everyone feel connected, and the article praised the school's spirit under the headline "Rally for Reading Starts at School." Inspired by this success, Leo reached out to local youth groups and invited them to share their own stories of kindness during lunchtime presentations. Members of a neighborhood club spoke about helping neighbors with yard work and visiting elderly residents, and students listened with interest as they realized kindness extended beyond school walls. These lunchtime presentations became a regular event, bringing new faces to the cafeteria and sparking conversations that stretched far beyond the table. Leo noticed that classmates who had once been quiet during class were now eager to volunteer stories and ideas, their voices growing stronger with each shared experience. One day, the principal surprised Leo by announcing that he had been selected to serve as a student ambassador at a regional kindness conference, a role that would let him speak to other schools. With help from teachers, Leo prepared a short speech and a presentation that described the Respect Circle, the mural project, and the programs he had helped launch. On conference day, he traveled by bus to a nearby city and joined other student leaders in a large hall filled with banners celebrating compassion and collaboration. He stepped up to the podium in front of dozens of peers and spoke with honesty about his fears, the moment he had chosen to stand up, and the changes that followed. His clear words and steady voice earned him a standing ovation, and students from other schools approached him afterward with questions and ideas to bring back home. Over the next month, Leo and his teachers exchanged emails with other schools, sharing plans for mural projects, kindness weeks, and book drives. Back at his own school, he noticed that the mural's bright images had become a meeting place for students to gather and talk about new ideas. He led a small team in organizing a weekend cleanup of the schoolyard, picking up litter and planting small trees to make the space greener and more welcoming. Under his direction, students spread wood chips under the swings, painted benches in cheerful colors, and installed small bird feeders near the oak tree. When spring arrived, the courtyard bloomed with new plants and bright benches, and teachers praised the students for improving the school environment. Leo felt proud that he had helped create a place where students could learn, play, and feel connected, knowing that kindness could take many forms. In art class, the teacher invited Leo to help design a set of posters featuring quotes from his speeches, and he worked with classmates to create bold graphics. Each poster combined colorful images with simple words like "be brave," "show kindness," and "stand together," and they hung along the main hallway. Students smiled as they walked past, reading the posters that reminded them of the power of gentle words and loyal actions. Meanwhile, Leo continued to mentor younger students who needed support, spending time each week helping them with homework or sharing stories that made them laugh. He found that listening was one of the kindest gifts he could offer, and students began seeking him out to ask for help or just to talk. As graduation approached, teachers and students nominated Leo for a special leadership award that recognized his service to the school community. During the ceremony, he sat in the front row with friends and family, the stone in his pocket and the mural's image on his mind. When his name was announced, he walked confidently to the stage, paused to look at the audience, and accepted the award with humble gratitude. His grandfather and grandmother stood in the back, cheering loudly amid the applause that echoed off the gym walls. After the ceremony, students lined up to shake his hand and take pictures, offering congratulations and sharing memories of the kindness projects they had done together. In his speech, Leo thanked everyone for believing in him, reminding them that each person had the power to spark change with simple acts of caring. That night, he placed the award on his desk beside the mural photo he had framed, creating a small display of the journey that began with fear and ended in courage. He smiled as he remembered that he had thought he would be just another victim until he showed who he really was, and he knew his story would inspire others to find their own strength. Summer holidays approached, and Leo felt a sense of excitement for the journeys that lay ahead, but he promised himself to carry his lessons into the future. He packed his backpack one last time, placing the stone and the leadership award carefully in a small pouch at the top, their weight a comforting reminder of his growth. The last day of classes arrived, and he walked through the hallway, smiling as new artwork celebrated Kindness Week one final time. His classmates handed in cards, each inscribed with messages of thanks and simple drawings of hearts and stars that glowed with sincere appreciation. Leo pinned each card to his locker door, creating a mosaic of gratitude that brightened the corridor with color and warmth for everyone who passed by. At noon, a surprise picnic was organized on the grassy field, where students laid out blankets and spread food for a celebration of friendship and unity. Leo joined Mia, Jamal, Sarah, and many others under a sky that was clear and blue, letting the gentle breeze carry laughter across the open space. They shared stories of the year's challenges and victories, each voice adding to the memory of how far they'd come together. When the principal gave a short farewell speech, students listened with respect as she reminded them of the power in kindness and courage. Leo realized that his simple stand against cruelty had sparked a movement far larger than he ever imagined. After the speeches, he gathered with the Respect Circle to plant a small tree beside the school's front entrance, marking a living symbol of their unity. The group took turns pouring water around the young sapling's roots, each drop echoing the care and hope they felt. Mia and Jamal stood beside him, their hands touching the soil and their faces shining with anticipation for the tree's future growth. A video team from the school captured the moment, ensuring that the story of planting would inspire students in years to come. That afternoon, Leo organized a final meeting of the Respect Circle to hand over leadership to younger members, ensuring the group's mission would continue. He welcomed the new leaders, offering guidance on how to host meetings, plan projects, and keep the spirit of kindness alive. The younger students asked questions eagerly, and Leo answered each with patience and clear examples from his own experience. He felt pride in knowing that his voice would no longer be the only one guiding the group, but that many others would share the responsibility. As the sun dipped low, he walked to the mural beside the cafeteria one last time, tracing the painted handprints and vibrant figures with his gaze. The mural seemed to glow in the golden light, each color a memory of students working together in laughter and solidarity. He placed a small flower at the mural's base, a final gesture of gratitude for the space that had become a beacon of hope. Students drifting by paused to smile as they saw the flower, understanding its symbolism without a single word spoken. As he turned to leave, he saw two new faces studying the mural with interest, their sketches and notebooks at the ready. Leo recognized that his story was now theirs to build upon, and he felt a deep satisfaction at the seed he had planted in their hearts. On the way out, he exchanged hugs with teachers who had supported his journey, each embrace filled with mutual respect and admiration. At home that evening, he placed the last card from his locker on the desk beside the sapling's photo and wrote his final journal entry for the school year. He wrote about transformation, about how one boy's decision to speak up had reshaped the lives of many. He described the faces of classmates who had once sneered but now smiled with genuine friendship. He noted the lessons learned, that courage does not always roar but often whispers, steady and clear. He promised to carry these lessons everywhere he went, believing that every person could spark change. His grandmother tucked him into bed and kissed his forehead, proud of the young man who had become a leader. In his dreams that night, Leo walked through hallways lined with murals and cards and new student art blooming with fresh color. When dawn came, he awoke with a sense of purpose that extended beyond the school roof into the wider world. He packed his bag for summer camp, carefully putting the stone and award into a small keepsake box to show new friends. As he stepped outside, the air was cool and full of possibility, reminding him that change often begins with a single step. Leo smiled and took that step, ready to share his story wherever he went, confident in the power of gentle words. He understood that he had once thought he would be just another victim until he showed who he really was. And now he knew that showing who he really was a gift not just to himself, but to everyone around him. With a stone in his pocket and courage in his heart, Leo set off toward new adventures, determined to inspire kindness wherever his path led. And he believed, now more than ever, that anyone could find their true strength by choosing to speak up and stand tall.